Hi, ladies and gentlemen. We're just waiting. This is a hybrid event, so we've got you joining virtually, and we have people coming in for the face-to-face session. So I'm going to turn everything around for you in a second, and then we can proceed. I think everybody's also just grabbing a cup of coffee.
Elaine, I've lost recording privileges. Would you just hit record on your side so that we can share it with the rest of the people later? And then I'll speak to you this afternoon.
Yes, super. Thank you, Angelique.
That's not cheap. And then you still have to do all the licensing and everything with it, food acceptability. So you have to do.
Okay, I see that it is recording. Okay.
Yeah, if you have something else. So it's got the full, it's got the gas, the installations are all 100% correct. And so, the restaurant, our restaurant, we've got a restaurant, we're running that restaurant for the last 7 years.
I've done an attendance register.
No problem. We must see. Ah, we need to speak for right on.
Oh, no, that's just
Is that the yes committee?
Yes. 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 Yeah, no, I'm used to virtual, so I haven't done
Yeah, I was so excited. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was supposed to. But even though I've got something just now, let me just come. Yeah, do this space. I need to teach you guys how to be entrepreneurs. Yeah, I do.
No, okay, thank you.
Okay, good. You like working for big organizations?
Yeah.
Did you know Sharon's got a restaurant? What's your restaurant called?
It's not my restaurant, it's Ken's restaurant, my business partner's restaurant. But I run Jack Rabbit's.
Oh, yeah, Morningside.
No, that's one trailer. People who want to get. Busy renovating it at the moment.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Really? My memory is.
Do you know where the Waltons is in Glenwood?
Yeah.
Right next to it. The one that makes all the noise that we noise complaints from. But it's been there for years and years and years. It's a landmark.
Yeah.
It's a student.
Hi, guys.
Hi, come on.
Hey,
Can
Sharon,
we have some coffee? Is there?
right over there.
Is it
Right over
is
there.
there hot water there?
I'll bring a kettle in for you.
Sharon, there's we've really got quite a few people on it.
Oh, okay.
So it's a proper hybrid approach.
Hot.
So we have to start.
Yes, we need to start. Okay. Oh, I'm not running this meeting. That's the chairperson. I mean, I'm an attendee.
No, Sharon's getting.
Where's our committee? We had a committee 2 years ago before the pandemic.
We'll have some nominees today. So what we want to, I was just chatting to Elaine, in all of the seaters, and we're gonna have like a closed session with seaters. Is everybody able to hear us?
Sure.
One thing you may want to look at if you use 360 camera.
Vilma, can you confirm that you can hear us?
So,
If you want people to see everyone,
yeah.
you put the 360.
Or Stephanie, any of the participants?
There we go.
Okay, great stuff.
Thank you.
Yes, I can.
Okay, great stuff. Thank
We'll
you.
talk
so
loudly, don't worry.
There we go. So you can take notes on your phone. I think we are all, except you are very prepared. Yes. So that's okay. It feels panelly.
Yeah, round table discussion today, which is nice. Okay.
I think everybody can see. And then I'll just get a register from there.
Yeah, we'll
To-
download the register.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, are they bringing some hot water home? I think you carry on that. Okay. Okay, up Yes, it is so nice to have more than one or two people, and also so nice to move a little bit over to virtual. It was a little bit of a test run that we did, because we wanted to determine what the appetite was for face to face, and you know what that would, how we would experience that, or whether or not our members actually just prefer doing our virtual sessions. So I think for us, we may do a regional event once a year, a big one, fully set up the way that we used to do for every single event. But then I think for our monthly sessions, we may just keep it virtual for a little while longer. So I'd like to just say welcome to everybody who's joined us virtually, and then welcome to everybody here too. Greatly appreciated. My name is Elaine Kruger. I'm the KZN chair, and I've been in the learning and development industry for 15, 16 years, something I'm extremely passionate about. SDF on steroids, without a doubt. There's a lot more to being an SDF than just doing some administrative work. And then we also have Sharon. She is our national chairperson, which is really fantastic, and she is the knower of all things QCTO and CETA related. Not by choice, but by necessity, because with her training company, she's had to navigate and weather the storms of all of the changes that take place on the CETA and QCTO and SACRA landscapes. So, yeah.
Morning all. Welcome to our session today. I have some very good news for everybody. So just to announce, I have luckily intercepted a very high-level meeting that is happening tomorrow with the QCTO, with SACRA, and with the Department of Labour about the single unit standard training. And I brazenly asked for permission to please join that meeting, and they granted me permission. So I'll be sitting with another professional body, ourselves, and with the Yapinel from SACRA, as well as the DHET, the DOL, and with the QCTO top structure to decide what they're going to be doing with single unit standard training and how they're going to navigate around this compliance training. So everybody's been asking questions about it. I think I was the catalyst in starting the ball rolling about why the CETAs are not answering us, and the historical qualification coming to an end next year. I started sending emails out and saying, please give us an answer, please give us an answer. But I was asking from a private training provider perspective to QCTO. And then when we got the letter from Services CETA saying we're not accrediting anybody after the end of August this year, then I had even more ammo, and I sent more emails to QCTO, and I just bombarded them very nicely, you know, tapped nicely on the door and asked nicely, please tell me what's happening. All of a sudden that circular went out that the Department of Labour is going to be taking over policing or monitoring the private training providers and that landscape, and then the Department of Labour said, no, thank you, we're not doing that, and they pushed it straight back. Now they're sitting between a rock and a hard place. So it's back to the drawing board. So this is why that meeting is happening tomorrow. It's between 10 and 12, and I will give feedback as to what's happening with that meeting.
I think it would be nice if we could just have a bit of context on why the debacle with the single unit standards.
Okay, so basically there are acts in place regarding your compliance training. So first aid, the Department of Labour regulates first aid training, and they've got requirements around first aid training. So it expires every 3 years. You have to have, when you appoint somebody, so there's two acts. Department of Labour inspectors check that you have got appointed first aiders in your business, that you've got appointed fire marshals, and you've got appointed health and safety reps. So they check on that from a compliance perspective. But the OSH Act has also got appointees that you have to appoint that have to be competency-based trained. So the OSH Act also requires you to have compliance training done. So there's two regulatory sides to it. Now you can only train them on single unit standards to show compliance, and it has to be compliance training. So it's not one of those certificates where I attend the course. It has to be competency-based, which means portfolio of evidence, and it is all unit standards that are under 8 credits, which means it cannot be a QCTO-based skills program, which means it has to be a unit standard-based legacy, or a unit standard legacy part of a standard qualification, yes. So now that they are deregistering all the legacy qualifications, that is going away, and QCTO is saying it's not going under 8 credits for a skills program. So now all of these are sitting in no man's land. So they try to fob it off to the Department of Labor. Department of Labor don't want it. They're saying they will just register the private training providers. Nothing's going to happen about health and safety rep training. Nothing's going to happen about fire training. However, there's also driven machinery regulations. So your forklift training, your working in heights training, your confined space training, all your construction regulations that happen. There's huge amounts of compliance training in the construction industry. Rigging and slinging, working at heights, your excavation insurance, scaffold erector, scaffold inspector. It's massive. So it's not just the first aid fighting safety rep, but also things like what is going to happen to. So you can do a skills program and you can work your way towards a full qualification, but there is no, for me, there's no way for a person that doesn't have the means to do single unit standards and build up to various qualifications. There's no vertical and horizontal like there used to be on the NQF. And that's what I liked about NQF. And that was one of the first things I learned in the industry, was that you had vertical and horizontal articulation. There's none of that in the QCTO. Can somebody answer for me how we're going to do that on the QCTO? It's only this way. So you do a skills program or part qualification within a qualification, and you could only complete that qualification. Where's your horizontal and vertical articulation? So you are disadvantaging the learner. We're in skills development to advantage the learner.
And to progress them.
And to progress them. So my entire journey throughout my entire life has been single unit standard based training and building on that to decide what my career path was going to be, and that's molded my entire career. So, and where I have gone, because I started in marketing, but I've ended up in training, and that is because when I did those first single unit standards, I realized that wasn't where I needed to go. I changed paths, and I think that is so important for people to remember, is that where we start is not necessarily where we're going to end. And that vertical and horizontal articulation is so important, and we're forgetting that. So I think that the learner is disadvantaged.
Yeah, hugely.
And I think that people are forgetting that. So we need to actually remind them of that. I think they've lost that. I think they've lost that part of that individual learner's pathway. And I really feel passionate about this because, and I also think the corporate needs to come on board, because the other thing that I'm very concerned about is that I went through a process, and this is a personal journey for me because I worked for a corporate. I won't mention who it is. Some of you know who it is because you've taken me through RPL processes. I did 52 short courses at a corporate company that had no credit bearing at all. I was told I was going to get a diploma qualification. I got 0 to show for it. I do not want that to happen to learners, and that is the reason why I went into this landscape. I do not want to see learners disadvantaged. I'm very passionate about that. So I feel like that learner is being left behind.
Is that something that's going to be, so is that what you're going to raise? Are you raising?
I will be raising those.
Tomorrow?
I will be raising those questions tomorrow. I want to know where the vertical and horizontal articulation is, number one. I want to know what we're going to be doing about learners who can't afford to be on QCTO qualifications. I want to know what is going to happen to corporates that have got skills programs that are unaccredited within their environments, and how we are going to police those, or not necessarily police them, but how we are going to make sure that we are looking after the learner at the end of the day. And I know that there are corporates here, but I'm speaking from the learner's perspective. We have to look after the learner, and we also have to look after the corporate as well. We have learnerships that have, we've got never-ending professional learners on learnerships. How do we stop these? There are major issues in the landscape that we need to have a look at. So,
But Sharon, it's almost like there hasn't been a lot of thought, and my sentence could be totally incorrect because it's just a perception, is that they knew there were these regulated unit standards. It's like nobody's actually taken them.
I think they've forgotten about it. I
just
don't,
find it really hard to think that they forgot about it.
I think they're focused mainly on the fact that we need artisans in our country, and I think what they've done from an artisan perspective is fantastic. And I think what they've done from a compliance perspective for full qualifications, I think is brilliant. So I'm not taking away from that. I think what they want to do and to stop the learner, what they're doing from a full qualification perspective is brilliant, because they are stopping those bogus campuses that are doing full qualifications. They're stopping that, and that we cannot fault them for. But where they're missing the opportunity is the private training providers that are catering for those learners that can do the progressive qualifications.
Don't the TVET offer those unit standards too?
No, not that I know of.
Yeah.
They do full qualifications.
But then why haven't they then just separated the two? Did the QCTO as occupational artisans and
Correct.
qualifications?
That's what I
and
think
then
we
the
should,
tutors
yes.
doing the skills programs, unit standards, why don't they just?
That's what I think, that's where I think the synergies can be, is leave the single unit standards with, but also take those qualifications, those historicals, and make it only a set number. We don't re-register any more unit standards. We keep only a set number with the seaters.
But is there not an opportunity to put for the QCTO to actually put a skills program together? Because if you look at the regulatory unit standards from Mercy to construction CETA, even services CETA, HW CETA, they generally all fit in somewhere. Yes, you can have a trade skills program for regulatory unit standards, well, not unit standards anymore, but a skills program. So is there not a good QCTO not consider that? Because I'm thinking, they're the ruling body now.
Yeah.
We kind of need to approach them with some solutions.
That's what we're going to do tomorrow, is figure out how we're going to navigate
Because
this
if they could
landscape.
put a skills program where the she rep was there, the first aider is there, the firefighter. if all of
Remember, your
that-
skills program, when it comes to the OSH Act, so specifically with OSH Act, you can only appoint 2 people. You cannot appoint more than 2 people into a position, because for first aid, can't be fire marshal, but you can't fire and treat a person.
Yeah.
So
But isn't the person getting a holistic health and safety skills upliftment training where they can either fit into their yes, maybe not in the same organization, but they're actually now holistically growing. So it's just an idea.
So from a multi-skill perspective.
Yeah, from a
which is fine, but
multi-skill.
then you don't appoint that person in that.
Yeah.
And then they have the holistic knowledge,
yeah,
but then they act as a particular.
Either the
and-
but
firefighter.
the corporate has to now fork out for two programs instead of 1, and they're not going to do that. They're already mandated to do that skills training in any way. They only do what they have to do.
Yeah, and look at the massive organizations that have massive staff complements. They need X amount of firefighters, X amount of
Yeah.
first aiders, etc.
1 in 50 staff, they've got 10,000 staff, they're not going to do any more than they have to.
And imagine putting all of them on a,
Skills program.
yeah.
I just love upskilling. I'd love to do that. All of you got, they've got to try and learn.
And also, all your skills programs with QCTO have an ISA. And we don't have enough ISA centers at the moment. And we have a situation where you cannot be judge and jury. So you can't be the provider and the ISA. So that becomes another challenge. So I have some solutions already in my pretty little head for tomorrow, but sure. It's gonna
Oh,
be
so you're not just asking questions, you
No,
know,
I've
ask the
got
questions
solutions as well.
and-
You can't go in without
solutions.
solutions. That's the crux. So
Yeah, absolutely. To our virtual attendees, if there is anything that you'd like to contribute or ask, please can I ask that you just raise your hand. I am keeping an eye on the screen to make sure that I'll be able to see.
you just give us a thumbs up from anybody.
All right. No, that's good.
Okay.
Everybody's still there.
Anything else to contribute? Any burning issues at the moment? I think that one of the questions that myself and you discussed yesterday was, what is your guys, it would be nice to actually introduce everybody. Maybe we should do that. Just kind of introduce, you want to introduce yourself, Yolandi?
Yeah, so my name is Yolandi Tui. I am one of the board directors for ASDSA. And I also have my own organization, training and skills development and coaching. Yes, and I'm accredited with some CETA activities as well.
Lovely.
Thanks. My name is Mubashir Nakuru. I'm from Management Compliance and Consulting. We do business compliance and training.
Business compliance. Nice word. That's business compliance. Like to know more about that business compliance.
Hi everybody, my name is Janine Topping. I run a few companies. The one that I'm representing today is KZN. We've been helping training providers over the last 12 years with the CETA accreditation. We started doing QCTO about 2 years ago, so we already helped about 150 people, so that's been quite an interesting journey and it's changing daily. I also have my own training company. I do the training and development practitioners qualification, which is with the QCTO, and that is an online program. Although my employee learners have all gone, no, we don't want to do online, we want face-to-face. So now we're starting to do Saturday classes. And then I'm also a rapid transformational therapist to help people with root cause issues. So, yeah, that's me.
Hi guys, my name is Margaret Patel. I'm the client relationship consultant at LaborNet. We do everything. We manage your HR solutions holistically with health and safety. We've got a number of products. Yeah.
Don't you also have the occupational, are you not accredited for some of the occupational health?
I
and
think you
safety?
guys are as well. You're also
Yeah.
gonna have the same issue with these single unit standards.
Yeah.
Mm.
Lanelle Pillay, also from LaborNet, the client relationship manager. We do HR compliance. So it would be nice to know what it is with business compliance, like what's different, so that anything that falls outside of our spectrum can be referred to you guys. From a training and development perspective, we offer our own in-house courses because we're subject matter experts in that field. So things that are labor related and skills development programs, that type of thing. So the XDF course and stuff like that as well. But because we manage so many client skills spend, we also have a bunch of third-party providers that we get into partnership with. Basically to manage our clients' WSPs so that they don't have to go and look for million service providers. They just tell us what their needs are according to their WSP and what their priority is. So if it's a PE level or it's a location or it's price, which everybody's trying to do right now, we basically look within our network to find what would suit them best and like a hippo or training quotes, and then we give them those quotes and they make a decision from that point. So I definitely agree with you in terms of companies are not doing more than what they require.
Absolutely.
And we're seeing that from the perspective where we consulted them. We're not training providers, but that's coming from the consulting perspective. And basically at this point, because it's mandatory training, they're not getting to count it in other places like BE
Yes.
and stuff like that. So they're not pushing the funding in that direction. Literally, if they need one first aider and one firefighter, that's what they'll train.
That's what they'll train. Correct.
So it is a bit difficult because you know the first budget that gets cut is always training. And it's just an initiative from our side that we launched this year to sort of help employees stop feeling as despondent as they were because of budget cuts, basically. With us, when you take on one of our products, we give you an access to an LMS system that will give you online training on that specific product for your entire staff complement. So let's say it's copy, for example, you take on copy consulting with us. You have already recorded trainings and everything set up on an LMS system. The staff will get their own logins to that and they can complete those courses at their own leisure. Obviously, they will be able to complete a quiz and get a certificate of attendance, but those are not accredited trainings. It's just to keep up that spirit of training and not put the burden on the employer so much. So that's what we've done as an initiative to create that culture.
It's a very good initiative because it's current information that's coming through. So I have some questions for you.
Yeah.
Your clients that you have,
Yes.
their SDF, they obviously have an SDF in-house. Is that SDF professionally registered?
So not always the case because they use us, if they have skills developed with us, they're using us as their SDF, the
Okay,
primary SDF, and their in-house person joins from a secondary SDF perspective.
okay,
So they're not always qualified, depends on the size of the organization, the type of organization. So obviously we do have those big corporates where they are running their facility on their own. They just don't want the administrative burden, for example. They pass that along to us. And then the smaller guys, they completely don't have that expertise. They don't know what it is to get workplace approval. They just want to run an autism program, but they don't know the admin that has to happen behind it before you can get approved. So that we come in and help them with that type of situation.
okay. So the other thing that I wanted to speak about today was professional designations versus professional or qualifications. A lot of people have been doing, so we implemented a new system at ASDSA where we're now doing inductions for our regional chairs. And one of the things that I found was that people actually don't know the differences between a professional designation and a qualification. So they think that a professional designation is just a nice to have, but it's not. Professional designation is actually the acknowledgement of your experience and your knowledge in the industry in place of a qualification. So a lot of people don't realize that, and because I don't actually have a diploma, I don't have any qualifications on a diploma level. Everything that I've done, I've only gotten myself through those unit standards up to a certificate level qualification. So all the qualifications I have at the moment, and I'm almost done with my third one now. So I've done my general management, I've done my occupational health and safety, I'm busy with my HR at the moment, and my OD, I'm doing two at the same time. I'm doing my OD ETDP and I'm doing my HR at the same time. So they will all be at a certificate level, but they're only at a certificate level. The next level I will go to is the diploma level. But because I don't have the diploma level, I have used my professional designations to actually get me to the level I need to. And that's what's given me the credibility in the industries that I've been in. So I think that is a very important distinction for people to understand, is that I now have become a professional designee with SIPT as a practitioner for training. I am an ASDSA Skills Development Master. I am also with SABPP. I'm only now at entry level. I'll finish my HR qualification, then I will get my HR designation. And I've also got my my designation, what's my last, I've got my accounting designation. So I will have 4 designations by the time I'm finished in accounting, HR, in skills development and in training. So those 4 designations will put me on the level of almost degree. I will be on that degree level. But I don't have the qualification for it, but I've done the recognition of prior learning of my experience in the industry. And that's the message I think we need to be sending out to our corporates. Those people in their industries that don't have the requisite qualifications can do their designations in place of the qualification. It holds that much merit.
I personally feel that the professional designation is actually much more beneficial to the entity than just holding a qualification.
So the next question is, do you have your professional designation?
I have the qualification.
Oh, you have the qualification. But don't you think that it's important for you to now continually professionally develop yourself?
Yes, definitely. But now, practically from my perspective, I moved into a completely different role in the entity that I'm at.
Okay.
So because of that, it's basically deterred the continuous professional development.
But you should be registered with SABPP, hey?
I didn't do the registration.
Okay, so you should be.
Yeah.
And you know we've got an MOU with SABP
Okay,
and with APED,
okay,
who's partners with SIT.
yeah. So I actually should pursue that. I just
So I've given you no excuse now to not get your designation.
Okay, you got 1 month.
Yeah.
Introduce themselves too.
Okay, let's quickly introduce online.
Okay, I think let's start. I'm going to just go according to what is on my screen here. Stephanie, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to everybody here too.
Is Stephanie hear us?
Okay, I don't know.
There's some chats there.
Yeah. Okay, all right, that's fantastic. Thanks for the. Okay, Mikay, can I ask you to introduce yourself, please? Okay, Ramona, would you like to introduce yourself? Oh, okay, all right.
Good morning.
Oh, there we go. Good morning, Ramona.
Morning, everybody. How are you?
Great, thanks.
I'm Ramona van der Merwe. I'm working at FPOP Mutual Assurance, and I'm the senior practitioner in our organization, working with closely with the skills development facilitator in the organization. And we're currently also looking at accreditation for our skills programs in our company. But I'm struggling with the QCTO.
Well, you've come to the right place, Ramona. We've got lots of assistance for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Ramona. Dishard?
Good morning, Elaine. It's Dishard Shea. I am a SDF, Employment Equity Consultant, and BE Transformation team person. I've been in industry since 2009. Since 2011, I've been managing my own practice called HRD to a few companies, small, medium, and large. What I'd like to know is, I've been listening about the professional qualifications, and I just need a bit of guidance on how do I go about getting that with the SABP. I've got my SDF qualification back in 2010. I've got a bachelor's degree, honors degree, and a near completed master's degree through KZN in Human Resource Development. So I just need to know how to progress that forward. But I also feel that the qualifications are on one side and the level of experience in industry is another, and that is your greatest teacher. Because every day is very dynamic, the experience is very rich, and working with different companies across different industries, different sectors, and now with the transition to QCTO, sometimes can be a bit mind-boggling, but all the same, we've got to very bravely, pursue it. So I just need guidance on the different professional designations that I need to go with, and if there's any outstanding so-called qualifications that I need to achieve in order to remain very current and dynamic, please.
Okay. Do you want to answer what
No, please go ahead.
So
Please go ahead.
with regards to your SDF, you can apply for your SDF qualification, your designation with ASDSA, and with your bachelor's and master's degree, depending on whether you have got any international or national experience, you should be able to come in at a professional or a master's level. So we have 3 designations: the technician, the practitioner, and the master. On our website, it gives a detailed description of our 3 designations. And with SABPP, I think you, as an HRM, you should be able to get your designation with SABPP. They've got the criteria on their website as well. So because the professional designations are in 2 different spheres, even though we have an MOU with them, we share best practices with regards to continued professional development, RPL, and those kinds of things. And we also share, if you attend an SABPP workshop, their CPD credits work for us on your CPD record cards and vice versa. So the Parktown agreement comes into play with regards to CPD points. But when you want to pursue your professional designation, you have to pursue your professional designations with each individual professional body. And we've got an agreement that there's no discounting between professional bodies, unfortunately. And that's an agreement through most of the professional bodies because we all run our designations differently. Ours is about approximately R1,000 for the membership, and in the designation, there's fees attached to the designation, and there's an annual renewal. SABPP, you're looking to the tune of approximately R4,000 a year. Okay.
Sure, and I think with regard to remaining relevant, that's where the CPD points would come in.
Yeah, and the relevance, your continued, remember when you start your designation off, your initial professional development is gaining your designation. Your continued professional development is your CPD record card every year that you submit. And as far as I know, it's 30 CPD points per year, both for SABPP and for us. And ours is it's quite easy. We've got a very nice matrix of, join our session. So when we do our monthly chats, when we do these sessions, like these sessions now, our interactive sessions, when we do our conversations, you get your automatic CPD points. So ours is already automated, which is quite nice. It comes out to you. If you are a committee chairperson and you host any of the sessions, you automatically get your CPD points for that. If you do any research papers or do articles, if you publish any articles, if you do any training or present any training, you get CPD points for that. So ours is we've come up, I've been directly involved in rewriting that CPD policy. So if you want to volunteer for any of our committees, that will bring you lots of CPD points.
Dilshad, did that answer your questions?
Yeah. Yeah, it did. The only thing that I'd like the team to also, I don't know if you guys might agree with me or not, is the BEE Act is dominating a lot of the landscape when it comes to skills development. And I think very importantly, there should be a module specifically within the SDF component that teaches us how to do the BE skills calculations, how to equip SDFs to be able to understand the BE landscape and align it with skills development, because the reality is, and I'm saying this with complete transparency, is a lot of the time skills development is driven by BE requirements.
Yes, we know that, and we do cover that throughout the year under ASDSA. We cover the following subjects. We will do workshops on workplace skills plans, annual training reports. We do a survey on that annually. We do workshops on BEE, EEA, HR training, accreditations, just touching on a few of the subjects that we cover over the year. We cover any acts that come out, any changes to legislation that come out, so we will cover all of those. We share those with you as well. Any mandatory grants, changes, updates from any of the CETAs, we post those on our WhatsApp group. We also share that on our website. We post all the discretionary grants, funding windows that open up. We share those as well. So changes to employment equity, even wage increase information, basic conditions of employment information, and labor relations information. So we try and tie it into as much of the HR stuff as we can, because without that HR link, it does tie into HR quite a bit. LabourNet will tell you that. It's a flow. You start the process of workplace skills plans from your HR department. You also have to include your accounting department, because you've got costs that actually go, that ties into your workplace skills plans. So next year, our plan is to actually roll out an entire workshop around workplace skills plans. We've just done 2 sessions on unpacking the curriculum for QCTO. But there should be recordings on our YouTube site, so if you're just going to have a look at that.
And maybe what we can do is a more in-depth approach, like workshop BE.
Yes.
So I think that,
Yeah.
We'll take that back as one of the things that we need to do.
Yeah.
Do some proper workshops, like a 3 to 4 hour virtual session on unpacking the workplace skills plans component, or the skills development component of BE.
Yeah, and we'll get obviously the subject matter experts into.
And the same thing with
into the-
employment equity.
Yeah, absolutely. So we also do share. We've had SARS visit us, and or join us, and they presented on
The learnership components and how to.
ETR section, the section 12H, etc. So, and those are also available on our YouTube channel. If you wanted to revert back to any of those.
Yeah.
Renee.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dilshad.
Hello, everyone. I've actually just popped a message on the chat because I needed to run to an unplanned meeting. Just a quick one.
Yes.
I'm a transformation manager. I manage a team of BE, employment equity, and SDF consultants. I have my skills development practitioner designation through our organization. I got it last month, so I'm very happy with that.
Great. Congratulations.
And I have the economic empowerment professional designation through Association of BE Professionals. Yeah, it's very important that I understand fully the skills development, employment equity, because those both link so strongly with BE. And I would like to offer my assistance if you hold a workshop in terms of BE linking skills development to that. So you can just make contact with me if you would like some guidance on that.
That would be amazing. We're really happy with that. Thank you.
I do have to apologize that I have to run.
No.
Totally unplanned, but I will listen to the recording and catch up with you again.
Thank you very much,
everyone.
Super. Thanks, Renee.
Okay,
Great.
we have our BE workshop.
Yes. I just wanted to have a look at there was a question further up over here. Can you read that?
Yes, good morning. Or can I unmute? There is noise in my background. I applied for qualifications at QCTO1, having 4-part qualifications received accreditation for the full qualifications, and the part qualifications were not listed on the accreditation letter. Okay, so the part qualifications won't be listed on the accreditation letter. However, you can actually use them. So was told by QCTO the part qualifications do not have the SAQA ID numbers, so cannot be offered as part. That's not true. So that's not what I've been told by QCTO.
Yeah. So Sharon, the biggest challenge as the school rolls out is that when the providers apply for accreditation of QCTO, they get the accreditation for the full qualification.
Yes.
They cannot train the part qualifications. They've got to reapply for part.
That's ludicrous.
No, it's an
I will bring that
absolute
up tomorrow. I'm going to bring that up
It is
tomorrow.
an absolute pain, although in saying that, I had a long discussion with one of our other
That's from
committee
Vilma.
members.
Thank you, Vilma, for bringing that up.
One of our committee members said the whole reason where QCTO are coming from, it's based on the CHE principles. That when you are designing a full qualification, you take into aspect the exit level outcomes. And when you are training it as a full qualification, you're training everything.
Yes.
Okay. So I've got my head around that.
Yes.
I've known that for 20 years. Okay. Then she said to me, if you now, and my qualification in question was training and development practitioner's qualification. I said, well, why can't I now, because I'm accredited for that, why can't I just train the SDF module?
Or the assessor.
Or the assessor?
Yes.
And she said, no, because in order to do the SDF, you've got to have the other part qualifications. So it's all about context. So it took me a while to get my head around it. I'm still trying to get my head around it.
I don't agree.
I don't agree with that.
Because I'll tell you why. The subject matter expert makes the difference. The subject matter expert knows that entire qualification and can give context when they're in that classroom. So I disagree fully.
But from a QCTO point of view, what they're saying is that when you submit, you can't now take the training materials for the full qualification.
No, that's where your design and development comes in.
Yes. So that's why you've got to resubmit your program for part qualification approval. You cannot use the same program and just unpack it. So I'm trying to get my head around.
Is the material integrated?
Yes, it is. The material comes integrated.
But that means that you can't apply for both at the same time, a full qualification.
Yeah, you can. You can apply for both at the same time, whether they're going to award it or not. So people thought automatically that they could apply for the full qualification and the part qualifications would be. But I was told that my part qualifications were part of my full qualification.
So if it's not part of the full qualifications, you have to then reapply. Is that what they're
Well,
saying?
they are part of the full qualification.
It's
but
on the
your
curriculum documents.
But on your application, you've got to apply for the full qualification.
It's not on the application. It's not on the application form.
It's not on.
It's not on the application
Skills
form.
programs. So on the application, you only have full qualification and skills program. You cannot apply on QCTO for part qualification.
But it's not on the skills programs
So it's
either. The part qualification is not on the skills programs because I've just applied. The part qualifications are not on the skills programs.
So
I've just done
on
it.
the skills,
No.
but they're on the full qualification.
But how do you apply? Because it's not on the full qualifications.
Let me know when you're.
Because you and I know that I'm on that site on a regular basis. It's not there.
No, so we're having a challenge, so we're having to try and
Okay.
navigate.
I know the right person to speak to. Wilma, we're going to get back to you about this because there's definitely a debate about if they want us to apply for the part qualification, how do we apply? Because when you apply for the full qualification, where do you apply for the part qualification? Because there is nowhere to apply for it. I know I have gone in and applied for another qualification. There's no option to apply for a part qualification. It should come with the full qualification. So I already had the argument for you. I will give you the answer when I get it from them. And I'm really good at getting answers.
Let us all know. Because it's been quite some of the clients have given,
Right.
some of the clients they haven't. So that we battling with the consistency with dealing with QCTO at the moment.
Yeah, and they don't answer you. You have to phone and phone and phone and then email and phone. So the person who's in charge of all of this, I will tell you all, is Emmanuel Mbue, and then Kate, Rama something. I've got her details. She is the 2IC. They are both on this meeting tomorrow.
Good. We're all going to be right.
And Emmanuel's he's a very nice man. I've had long conversations with him, and I think he is just literally overwhelmed at the moment.
Absolutely.
I
actually feel so sorry for the staff.
No, I think that they're completely under-resourced.
Yeah, no, totally.
And we will be putting our hands up as the ASTSA to assist them with whatever they need.
Well, the thing is that they impart the knowledge to you. You can then impart all that knowledge to all your members.
Do you think I have more knowledge than they do about their own system?
Yes.
I'm a non-sleeper, so I'm at 11 o'clock at night, I'm trawling their sites, trying to figure out their accreditation system. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions?
I'll just put my glasses away now. It was Wilma.
Okay. I do think that we should do an HR session from LabourNet side on how, because I have figured out that I want to ask a question to the whole forum here. And I figured this out with one of my external clients because I've started doing external SDF work now. And I've got 2 external clients now. I want to know, do you guys claim for your mentoring and your coaching?
We should. We do.
Do you? Okay.
And
And how?
running short of points.
Sorry?
And they're running short of
But
points.
you should be doing that on a regular basis, because if you've got a business owner and he's got anybody that he's mentoring in that, and you know the differences between mentoring and coaching, obviously, but a lot of small businesses don't do that.
Yeah.
Small businesses mentor and coach every single person in that business. And that is the biggest form of training in a small business. So that's the first part. Do you claim for your inductions?
Some companies do, depending on.
How long the induction is?
Or whether it's the amount of administration that has to go into like cleaning that and
I will
capturing.
show you a very
each thing.
simple induction process.
Yes.
One-page induction page
Okay.
and a spreadsheet.
Okay, as in for BEE.
No, claimant for workplace skills plans,
Workplace,
person that's actually inducting.
Yeah.
We do a week's induction with all of our guys.
So you report on it.
We report on it and claim for it.
But it's part of training.
It's part of training.
No, but what do you claim?
I claim time of the person
Yes.
training that person
No,
in the
but
business.
what are you claiming from the CETA?
We're claiming.
It's under
that-
mandatory grants.
It's under, yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, no, you
So
can't
for this-
claim on
it's-
the
it's
cost,
under-
the cost of it, but you.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. We've claimed successfully for the last 2 years.
And they, so outside of the mandate, because your mandatory grant is
It's,
X amount, and it can't be more or less
No.
than that.
yeah, so no other, because remember the last 2 years, we've done no training.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
And
you-
that's where I realized, and then I thought to myself, but I'm actually training my staff because when my staff come into the business, the first thing that I do is so what they do is they go to reception and they sit with the receptionist and they get trained on all the receptionist duties. It's orientation. So we do a full week of orientation in the business. It's literally training in every position in the company. They do filing, then they do reception, then they do quality assurance, and they go to the accounting department, then they do purchasing, so every single position in the company they go through. So we do a full orientation with them. It's not an induction, it's an orientation training. So they learn about our business.
Mm.
We have them sit in on our training and they actually get a full certificate for that, which I claim back. So
Yeah.
that full week of orientation should be claimed back.
Yeah, especially for the small guys that are not making things
Correct.
and they need to put that on. their
Correct.
resume.
And,
Yeah.
and
That's really
it's
good.
one of the things that I wanted to bring up as SMMEs, you should be claiming that back. But as big corporates, the big corporates do huge orientations.
Yeah.
Huge.
But because more or less they need to spend that money on the initiatives or whatever, because they really want to clean it, they're making it up on things that are accredited, they negates the rest of the stuff.
But I still think they should be claiming it because we're not actually reflecting the true spend
That is
of
actually true.
skills development because we're leaving out
Yeah.
what we are spending on orientation, what we are spending on
Onboarding.
mentoring, coaching, what we
Yes.
are doing as business owners in the business, even from a corporate perspective, it's not a true reflection. So I do think we need to start having discussions about what we're reporting on.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
And regardless of whether you're getting that money back, it should still.
I
go
agree.
in.
I think we should still be reporting on it.
Because that's where they're saying, oh, but there's not enough training, or there's not, you train, but you only train specific.
Yeah.
Whether you get the
don't.
money back or not is
Not.
irrespective.
Yes.
We should be reporting on everything that we are doing in the business. And it will also show that HR process that we're following. So we have like a 25-point, as a small business, I only have 12 staff, I have a 25-point induction checklist. 25 points.
Is induction your onboarding when they
My
start?
onboarding when they
Yeah,
start, 25 points,
Yeah, ask once they start under one,
very little.
because you've done it correctly at the
Yes.
start.
My staff don't leave. I've been in business for 9 years now. The first staff member, so that started with me as a practitioner that came from FNB that I've trained from scratch is still with me.
Sure.
So, yeah,
I think that's also important.
Mm.
it's my learnership people that change over very quickly because they they get trained and then they're gonna move. I know that they're gonna
Or they want to articulate.
They work as integrated learners, I know they're gonna move, so that's fine by me.
I have a question around RPL, because we usually put
Bring
it
it.
forward as if it's not gonna be so difficult to complete because we've been doing it for so many years. Specifically because you have done the. the
I have
skills
not
one.
only done it myself, but I've also developed it.
Okay, great. So
Okay.
you would be able to definitely answer from that perspective. The other issue I find a lot in the industry is that they're looking to do RPL in specific trades, and then it comes down to not being as easy as we thought it was.
No,
because
it's not.
The
it's
guys
not,
can't go back to theory, because you
Yeah.
gotta know the theory. They know how to do it, but they can't put it on paper.
Okay. So what is your challenge with RPL? And then I will explain how RPL needs to work.
Okay, so from the skills development perspective, we've never really pushed it or done it with an internal SDF, which I think is important. So we're going to chat about that to start moving that through the system for the people who have been in the company for years but have no qualification and have been working side by side with us, so they know exactly how it works. The only thing they don't do is the physical capture on the system.
Okay.
Right. From the artisan perspective, that's the challenge in terms of having this person with 20 years experience knows exactly what needs to happen. It's probably the best in the industry in that company, but cannot go through the theory part before it goes to that trade
So
test.
as far as I know, from an artisan perspective, you do not have to do the theory part, you only have to do the trade test.
Only the trade test.
As far as I know, yes. And you can go to, there are centers in KZN where they will take, you will have to go through a portion of the RPL. And as far as I know, outcomes-based education and training can be applied. If the person cannot do a written assessment, they can do a verbal assessment of the person if they have a special need.
What about language barrier?
Language barrier, you can also get a special assessment note. You can get a translator. You'd have to do, so how RPL works is as follows. When you take an RPL learner on board, you have to do a pre-assessment on the learner, identify the barriers and special needs first, and see if the person has the requisite experience. So there must be some kind of way that you assess them first, whether they have the requisite knowledge. And also, you've got to look at the qualification to see what the entry requirements of the qualification are. And if you're going to do it now, you're going to want to do it through QCTO. Okay. Because the historicals, you've got 2 more years, so you want to do the trade test through QCTO and do it through an ISA center. So if it's, let's say, Weldon, say, for example, there's a trade test center in KZN. You want to
only in PNB.
No, there's a couple here in Durban.
Okay.
Okay, so you just need to know who to speak to.
Yeah.
And we'll point you in the right direction. There are a couple here already, and they're already listed on the QCTO website, if I'm not mistaken. So just contact QCTO, it's info@qcto.org.za, and they will give you the trade test centers. There's quite a few.
Actually, on their website.
It's on their website, all the trade test centers. But off the top of my head, if you speak to Mercita, they will know as well. We are going to be having a roundtable discussion with all the seaters that we know. Myself and Elaine, between us, we know all the ETQA managers for at least 8 seaters. We're going to get them together in the room and we're going to ask them what their major challenges are. We're going to engage with them, and then we're going to invite all of our members back again. And from a KZN perspective, we're going to try and really engage as much as we possibly can. And those kinds of challenges we will address directly with Rosita, and we'll say, right, please tell us where the trade test centers are. These are the questions that we have, and we'll try and address them. But coming back to RPL, once you've done those pre-assessments, then, and if you meet all of the requirements and we can find the person that can do a verbal assessment and the barriers have been identified, you can then go straight to trade test.
Oh, perfect.
But there are costs involved.
No, definitely.
As far as I know, there shouldn't be any other barrier. You would have to just speak to the testing center as to what needs to be undertaken. But if he's got the requisite knowledge, then the RPL assessment can be done. So I don't do that now, but I can point you in the right direction. So that is why I like ASDSA so much, is because it's supposed to be a network of pointing you in the right direction. Okay. So RPL, when you are undertaking RPL, or you are, so I've just successfully completed my first RPL program, which I designed myself. And I put it through the construction CETA, and I got 100% audit for it. I was so excited. And then I've undergone RPL myself on a number of occasions. So the differences between undergoing the RPL yourself and designing an RPL model is when you design the RPL model, you need to make sure that you take a couple of factors into consideration. So I'm doing doing the RPL model. What I learned from that is that you have to do a very inclusive model where you take the person's experience into consideration, and you have to make sure that your evidence is 100%. So if they don't have the evidence, then you must make sure that they do the portfolio of evidence. Okay, so I did a very blended kind of approach. So I took the historical qualification, I had the entire manual, and what I did was I made them use the manual as their pre-reading, And then even if they had the experience, the manual was still there pre-reading, and they pre-read the manual. Then they came back to me, I did observations, and then I had them do the actual practical. And then we still had face-to-face sessions where we did virtual sessions, and then I would ask them, and they still had to do a final integrated summative assessment, which I designed for them, which was a 3-hour exam on a level 3 qualification for construction CETA. So I made sure that they were ready, and they had to pass it at 80%.
And they passed.
All of them.
Amazing.
I had one rewrite. He failed the first attempt, but I had a rewrite with him, and he passed. And I was 100% moderated with construction CETA on my processes. So what I did was I thought about the process of how I wanted the RPL to work. It didn't quite work the way I wanted it to. And as I went through the process, I modified the program. So designed the tool myself. I used Janine's initial tool that she did on me, and I modified it for mine, because it needed modification for the tools that I wanted to use. And then I was also done RPL on for another qualification, and I blended the two, and then I changed it to suit our qualification. So
It's quite
lots of learning,
It is.
lots of learning.
But like you said, you need to almost know what the end result is.
You need to know what your
Yeah.
end result needs to
Otherwise,
be.
you're going to put learners in RPL and it's not going to work. Sure. And you're going to find that there's going to be.
You have to test it out. You have to do a pilot program before you put a learner onto any program. The most important thing about a training provider is you have to pilot any program that you do. So I'm doing a pilot program now for the QCTO qualification that we are accredited for, which Janine did for me. You've been doing QCTO accreditations for 3 years, darling. 2019 is when you did mine. So we're piloting only now because I have been doing 3 years of research on QCTO's qualifications because I'm still not happy that I know enough about QCTO yet. I still haven't gotten an answer of whether my enrollment form needs to be my own or QCTO's. Still not.
Sure.
That's how long I've been waiting for an answer from them. So I've designed my own, and I've enrolled one learner that is desperate to get his QCTO qualification, and I've upfront gotten him to sign an agreement to say, you're on our pilot program, it's going to change.
Yeah.
Do you understand? I'm giving you a 50% discount. I'm charging you, but I'm giving you a 50% discount because you're on a pilot program. And he's like, "Shop, no problem." So I've made him sign that he's on a pilot program, and he's quite happy to be on a pilot program.
Can you guys also discuss with QCTO about certain specialized trades that don't have a formal qualification? For example, things like, or maybe they do have a formal qualification, but there's not so many providers that are accredited to provide those types of qualification training program, like the cheese making and butter making.
There is.
So the client is in Underberg.
Yes, client is,
In Underberg.
and the client is.
In cheese making.
Is it one of those nice big dairy farms? I used to live in that area.
Yeah, Underberg. Yeah. That's what
But there are choosing
They've got qualifications there already.
So their query to me was that it was just too expensive for them to carry out.
That's why they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if I were you, I would figure out a way of how they could run that program. And it is an experienced QCTO training provider that you need to run that program properly. It's because they don't know how to run the program. That's the challenge.
Okay.
So that is why I say to you, and that's the key, is get your corporates on these sessions, get them upskilled. It's important that we upskill the corporates because they need to know what we're discovering ourselves. This is a whole new system, and if we upskill the corporates, it will make your job easier.
It's not for members
It's not,
only.
it's not for members
Okay.
only.
No.
I fully believe it is time that we get our corporates on board and that they are learning with you. It's not going to take away from the residents. Trust me, they're not going to want to do the work,
Yeah.
but they need the
They
knowledge
need the knowledge.
of how intense this process is.
So when you get an invite, just forward it on to them. I do that with all of my,
Yeah. And we're going to have the virtual session, so them and Underberg is going to make no difference, but they need to understand this process, and we need to let them understand the the vastness of how much we're dealing with at the moment. So upskilling your clients is not going to be a bad thing. I think they need to understand why we need to go the QCTO route with the full qualifications, and they need to understand how much work you're actually doing.
Yeah.
Because then maybe you can increase your fee.
It's a nice marketing, they bring a corporate to the next meeting day.
In actual fact, we were thinking about that. You bring corporates to the next meeting. I might even give you some discount for your professional designation.
Yeah, I think the value in that also for me is the more informed the client is, irrespective of whether they are continuously and deeply involved in the process. That way, when a training provider comes their way to deliver against a specific qualification, they're wise enough to see any issues arising. They know how to ask the right questions. So it helps make the vetting process for them make more sense.
And I will also do this. A lot of us don't want our client base to be seen by other people at the ASDSA. If you would like a closed ASDSA session with all of your clients, just ask us and the subject matter experts will have a closed session with your clients, because I know LabNet's got a lot of clients. And if you would like a closed session with ASDSA experts like myself, Yolandi and Elaine, we will do that for you. Okay.
That's cool. I always give an upskilling the client because
I think it's important.
Everything they come to know is really not going to affect the product that we offer to them.
Absolutely. It just upskills them as to
understand the process.
But it also makes you invaluable. Because like you said, they don't want to do the work.
No, they don't have time to do the work. This is it's a huge amount of work. They will just understand how much work you're actually doing in the background and how much is involved in that QCTO qualification. It's taking me 3 years to just understand what I need to do, and just to get this program off the ground. It's
not only
phenomenal
that,
amount.
they can justify the costing better.
Absolutely.
The powers that be. Because at this moment they don't understand. So they don't justify it better. So they just decline basically.
And also remember, they understand their business better than you and I do. So they will come up with things that you and I haven't thought of because we don't understand it. We understand it as much as we can, but we don't live it like they do.
We don't.
It will create more opportunities for you within their businesses and more opportunities for you to expand your own businesses. I believe that. So it is going to be, for me, I feel like this is going to be a new wave going forward. So I'm challenging everybody within our organization to go and find your corporate clients and make sure that they are members of the ASDSA, because they're going to get the benefit of all of the things that we share with you guys. They're going to get to share that same information.
Yeah, and they, we can only address so many topics at any given time, or even over a period of a couple of months. It's critical for us that we hear from industry out there what it is that they want to know.
Yes.
We need
their frustrations are.
Yeah, and what briefly unpack this for us, or give us an in-depth session on these specific topics. For us to pull the subject matter experts in, like Sharon said, is easy.
Yeah.
But we need to hear where they are at.
Yeah. It would be great if our members could survey their clients and find out what is it that are your problems, because when we address the problems and we can answer those questions, we'll be hitting that bullseye 100%. And that's what I want to do. I want to make a difference.
Yeah.
It's important to me.
I think the corporates need knowledge.
Yes.
My biggest experience with our corporates that want to get accredited is they don't know the landscape. It's been around for a while now. But now everything's changing.
Yes, there's lots of changes.
No, but it's complex. If you can't speak the skills development language, you are
It's
lost.
not that complex for us who do speak.
Well,
trust me. Yeah, I was an expert yesterday. I was learning. But I suppose that's why, as a provider, what you should be doing is going into your client base.
Correct.
And taking them on a journey rather than just saying this is what we're doing and this is. So it starts long before you, whether it's accreditation, skills development, whatever. It's acclimatizing them and orientating them to the landscape and the language, and then finding the links saying
And that's what I do with my clients. I say, okay, so this is what you do in your organization, whether it's your vision statement, whether it's your M&E framework, whatever it is, and I link it to the CETA landscape.
Okay.
And I get them to see that and understand that they're doing it, but they're not doing it according to the compliance.
Yes.
And then getting them on board from that perspective and then taking them into whatever's needed.
Oh, I know who we're going to use to do our inductions with your clients. We're going to get our linkages out of Yolandi. She's going to present it for us.
That's fine. I love doing that. I think it would also be cool to tackle it maybe industry by industry. So
That would be a very good idea, because I find each industry, so like the training industry, training providers, do you know, I mean, I know the training providers are panicking at the moment because, and I'm in that exact same category. I've already started diversifying because I don't actually know what's going to happen next year, June, because nobody's giving me the answers. I know Janine's starting to diversify because she doesn't know what's going to happen in the industry come the 30th of June next year. And I can tell you now that some of the freelance trainers, the facilitators, the assessors and moderators, every single day I'm getting calls saying, am I going to have a job next year, June? Am I going to be able to feed my family? What is happening?
Yeah, that is actually a really good question, because do they all now need to go and get registered with the QCTO?
Well, the QCTO doesn't register.
No, and that's a question I asked the CETA. I said, what's going to happen from a training assessors and moderators perspective?
Yeah.
And then interesting, and the answer was that it will still fall within the CETA. They'll still be the quality.
CETA's not answering that question.
But the unit standards and the qualifications are no longer valid.
So that was the question, because I said, do I now apply for an extension of scope here, or do I go?
So what
to
extension,
CETA?
what qualification are you going to be accredited for?
That's the training program one, which for them, the assessor, facilitates, moderates, falls within that. But then it's those questions that now come up.
So which
around that.
CETA do you go to become a subject matter expert in?
You see, QCTO are saying must be recognized subject matter experts, assessors and moderators, recognized, okay, and the assessors and moderators are going, but we haven't renewed with the CETAs because we know you don't want us to be registered with the QCTO. So the assessors and moderators are going, I don't know what to do, and we're going, well, renew it, because your provider will use you right up until 2027.
Correct.
So remember that. It's
But-
right up until.
But
what happens
But
after?
the CETAs are being very clever. They are only renewing to 2024.
Yes.
Every single one is only renewed. They're only renewing. No, the renewals. Check your
actual.
every
Your
single
provider,
one.
as a training provider and as an
And your
assessor
assessment,
moderator.
30th of June 2024 is the latest.
You see, a lot of our providers have got reports stating to the final date of.
The qualification.
Qualification.
It does say
Majority of
that
our providers have
when you look at the qualifications for the unit standard, it says that.
Yes.
However, if you look at your report,
Yes.
there's a specific
The
date.
first
Yes.
That date, because when I send it to clients, I'm like, what
I
are my
looked at
clients
that
going to
date.
look at?
I don't
And
look
I
at the
that.
qualification details in the bulk. I look at the top where it says you
Yes.
as the provider. So you're gonna look at two sections of the report, where it's got the detail at the bottom, where the expiries are. That's different to you.
Sharon, that might be something that you also want to bring up with QCTO tomorrow, is that the providers are getting end dates. And then at the same time, the QCTO is giving the legacy CETA accredited providers an accreditation report as well. Their dates not tying up with the CETA date.
My end date is after.
The dates are different, so now the providers are going, is it the QCTO's date?
Well, I
or
want
is
to
it the
know how
CETA's date?
the facilitators and assessors and moderators are going to be accredited as subject matter, or registered, they'll use the right terminology, registered as subject matter experts.
I think with NAM, the trades are going to all have to go to NAM,
And the
register there,
soft skills,
from the occupation point of view.
Yeah, my business administration, my contact
Professional
center.
bodies,
professional bodies, that's what I think.
professional bodies.
Designations are going to be the way that they're going to go.
Yeah, so the
And that's what
professional
I think that is the right thing to do. That's my solution is designation. So
But are there
That's fine.
enough designations?
yes, there are,
Across every
103, there's 103 professional bodies.
is a lot.
Did you guys know that? Yes, there's 103 professional bodies, or 108.
So that's where the assessors and moderators need to start looking at, is registering themselves, having a look, where does the qualification sit, who's a professional body, here we go.
So
The challenges, everyone is gonna start charging.
we're not going to put our fees up and
But I also think
kill
that
people.
that navigation needs to be clearer.
Yes, the navigation needs to be clearer.
Because right now, we're sitting as people that know the industry and we're still questioning.
Yes.
So there's still a lot of questions that's not clear in exactly what you're saying. So how the QCTL fits in, how the CETAs fit in, where do you register, who do you register, and
What
they
the
almost-
process is.
What the process, you almost need a workshop or a diagram or something that says, this is the process, this is where you go, this is, and you almost need to, okay, so this is
A
where we're
roadmap.
starting. A roadmap, so this is where we're starting, these are the different options, depending on what it is, and that's the end goal.
That's a very good
And
idea.
It's also a before and after.
Yeah.
At the moment you used to register with the CETAs, now you need to look at the curriculum and go and register.
There is a roadmap.
Yeah, there is a roadmap,
But is it clear?
no, that's the thing, is it's not clear. So the QCTO's roadmaps, their processes, their guidelines, you read them and there's a lot of questions that come out of it. So
You
there's a lot
know
of-
who did a very nice roadmap was Ezra. Ezra did a very nice roadmap away from the QCTO, and he did a very nice roadmap, which I copied and I've used in my presentations to explain to my own clients.
Maybe you can put it
So,
on the website.
But we need to actually,
Just to unpack it a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
but that roadmap is just from one accreditation process to the next accreditation process. It doesn't actually expand and show you the entire process, show you the assessors, the moderators, the ETQA process, and all of that. It doesn't show you all the subsidiaries, everything else, the periphery stuff.
There's like a lot of gaps in
Yeah.
and again, it's a CHE thing where they expect providers to know. But one of the things, any of you that are involved in accreditation, or your clients accredited, you know, your clients don't know.
No, they don't.
We have to educate them, and if we've got these questions, we don't want to educate them and give them incorrect information. So.
I like this idea. That's a very nice idea, the roadmap of.
But before and after,
yeah.
maybe like a case study, show somebody occupation, use an occupation case study, use a trade case study, and maybe go into the curriculum. So it could almost be, we can all read documents, but we've almost got to be taught how to read it.
Well, that's what Leonie was unpacking, is how to actually, because I saw those 10% and I was like, what is those 10% for? What is those 10% for? And then she's like, that's the component that breaks down. So there's your knowledge modules, and then under each knowledge module, it breaks down into sub-modules, and then that sub-module, you only need to focus on 10%. I was like, where's the guideline? Okay, oh, that makes sense. But I was like, no, there's no guideline to tell you 10% means that.
Yes, there's no guidelines,
But-
so they've rolled it out.
Yeah.
But they've kept back all the guidelines.
So it's the usual story of whoever designs the material doesn't explain how they designed it. There's no explanation to that curriculum document, explanatory.
Somebody from
notes.
DHED, CHE.
Yeah, maybe it's.
Wasn't CHE or DHED that designed those? So,
No, it wasn't, but they seem to be using their principles.
no, they're not, because I phoned the DQ, the development quality partner that developed the 99714 for occupational health and safety, and it was scary what I got back.
I almost think.
I did research.
It's two different processes that you're explaining, Jenny. It's one where we're talking about the curriculum and the qualifications, and then one where we're actually talking about the landscape. So you have to do it as two separate.
Yeah.
100%.
Can't do it as.
Start the landscape.
We start the landscape first, and then when you want to accredit yourself, there's training provider accreditation roadmap. Then there is registration of the facilitator, says the
Yes,
moderator.
there has to be.
Then there has to be, okay, now you want to do a skills program, right? There's the roadmap for skills program. And I think we should actually expand it even more. When you want to do a learnership, there's a roadmap for a learnership. There's the roadmap for a trade. There's the roadmap for an occupation. And I think we need to start building those. I think those will be very, very valuable.
And then unpacking the curriculum. So
Yeah.
that's a different
Yeah.
component.
We started unpacking that curriculum, but then Leonie stopped and didn't do her third session because there were going to be so many changes from now until next year. And she's already been told there are going to be so many changes. And she's like, they've now changed some stuff in the curriculum. So me telling you this is it's not going to help. So, but she'd already given us a wealth of information that had helped me to actually start my pilot program. So.
There's so much uncertainty at the moment. And I think everybody in this environment is sitting very like, what's happening? Where are we going? And everybody's also very scared. We're finding that a lot of people are really, really scared to do
RC
anything
factor.
because it's change and there's no specifics to anything. It's like you kind of like making up the rules as you go, which makes everybody always very nervous.
And it's going to keep costing people money.
Do you think that we should do a workshop on how to do an enrollment form for QCTO for learners?
Or even that Excel spreadsheet.
No, I don't pack it. I've done it.
Yes, Shanice and Mom.
You copped it out. I did my own. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. If you just read it properly, but you do have to read it about 20 times.
Yeah, I know, and I interpret it and understand it, but that to me is like the place where people should be starting when they look at doing the enrollment form. But as you say, we can all design our own enrollment forms, but what if QCTO and I come and go, hey?
And the teachers have done that to me. I enrolled the learners 2 years ago on the first the RPL program that I did, and I enrolled them. I said to them, do I need to use your form? I checked all of my forms. I was like, there is no form for this. Okay, so I'll design my own form. Asked them, they said, no, use your own form. When I was exiting the learners, like, you don't have our enrollment form. I'm like, oh, well. You told me that I mustn't use your form, okay? No, you need to use this form. No, that says skills program. It's not a skills program, it's a full qualification. No, but you must just use this form. I had to get the learners to resign that form and upload it. A year and a half later. Luckily, I have a good relationship with my learners.
Yeah, absolutely. Sharon, it is now already 20 past 10.
Right.
So I
Some
want
good
to.
things coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to open up the floor to our virtual attendees. Please just put your hands up if you've got any additional questions, or you could also post them in our chat. And we're going to break the virtual link in about 10 minutes. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, I can't offer you all a cup of coffee.
And some nice biscuits, sorry.
We're speaking about the marks application for QCTO as well, and I'm making that tomorrow.
I don't know if I should throw too much at them.
Okay.
I want to try and establish a relationship as much as I can. Marks allocation, there's no marks allocation as far as I know, but I'm in the occupational health and safety space. I think mark allocation is key.
Yeah.
You can't assess a person without a mark allocation. To me, every assessor that is assessing somebody is going to assess differently if you don't allocate marks. I don't know. How do you feel?
No, 100%.
Were there any questions from our guys?
Very valuable session.
And just for our guys that are attending remotely, if you've got any queries, please don't hesitate to send your emails through to exco@asdsa.org.za or info@asdsa.org.za, or it's KZN@asdsa.org.za. Yeah. Phone Elaine first. KZN@asdsa. All right. Yeah. So from my perspective as a moderator, I like mark allocations. I have initially in my portfolios and evidence, even though I do single unit standard training, I've redone all my portfolios of evidence with marks allocations, and my assessors have said to me, thank you very much. It makes the marking much easier, because when I see specific things in, and my marking memorandums all have mark allocations in them, and that it makes the marking much easier. So we've gone back
and
to
the
mark,
remediation.
and the remediation is much easier as well. So we do 2 marking attempts. Or I give 2 assessment attempts to our marking allocation, because it's compliance training, so it's, I only give 2 attempts. Because
specific to that.
Specific to
industry and
our industry, because if they don't get it on the second, then they need to retrain. So no, they don't get it, then they need to retrain. And we also look at entry requirements. We check for special needs, we check for disabilities. Our guys, all of our trainers, we ask our clients as well. Any language barriers, we send our Zulu facilitator immediately. So we check for language barriers. We so for our industry, for compliance, those are things I've already added into it. I've redone all of my portfolios of evidence now on first aid, firefighting, health and safety, all with mark allocations. And I've even got the outcomes-based education built into it now, that if the person does well in his formative, his practical, and his assignments, but his written is bad, I do, and I check for those things, because sometimes they can't interpret the written assessments, and it's evident. You can see it straight away. The formative they have no problem with, because they do get in the classroom, they can answer the questions, they know how to articulate. You can see it also in their spelling. People don't understand that you can see the person has got a learning or language barrier if they can't spell correctly. And I've taught my trainers how to look for that. So you need to teach, you need to upskill your trainers. I would love to do a session like that. The assessors as well, when they say, well, my facilitators are my assessors.
Which is fine. But
I keep my facilitators and assessors as the same person, because compliance training, you can do that. So I've taught them, when you're looking and they can't spell, they've got a language barrier. So you can see it. If they can't even spell properly, then there's a challenge. And you can see it straight away. Formatives, they've got it 80%. Their practicals, 100%. Formatives, 100%. Their assignments, all the assignments that they do on their own and with the group assignments, they get like 80% for them. But as soon as they come to that question where they have to read the question and answer it, they get like 20% for it.
But English is a difficult.
It's a difficult, and what I try to do is I try and do mixed mode of questions. So I do multiple choice. They get fantastic on the multiple choice. The true and false questions they get full marks for. The multiple choice they get full marks for. But let me write that question out and they have to answer it. They can't answer it. So you have to be, as a moderator, and when you are designing that material, you have to look at those elements. And this is stuff that high-level QCTO don't understand. Yeah. They need to come sit with me when I'm designing the material.
It's interesting though, because who are the advisors? How do they start the process with not doing that?
They're not subject matter experts in compliance training and designing material from this level.
We've actually nominated you for the QCTO CEO position.
I don't think Jane's going to like that very much. From a unit standard perspective, I don't think that there's anybody that can tell me how to design a unit standard training material. From a facilitator guide to a moderator guide to a learner guide to a portfolio of evidence to a presentation to anything, because that I've been living and breathing that for 9 years. And I've now put those into, I've even designed now where I design the full qualification from the unit standards, I design it in skill sets. So I take the fundamentals, I put it into all the maths in one component, then I do all the communication in one component, then I do all the computer literacy in one component, then I do the safety in that component. And then Brian designs the safety for me in the correct flow. So he starts with OSHAT, then he does all the specific requirements, then he leads with everything else. And it's not in the right order that they have it on the SACPA unit standard or the SACPA qualification.
Sure, what we're busy trying to do is to put together a webinar for our providers to teach them how to take their own CETA training material and I don't want to say align it, because you can't align it.
Convert
You can't
it.
like convert
Yeah,
it.
convert it.
You can't really, but you can't really, but
There are certain.
there's certain things like your communication you can.
Yeah, the FLCs, NVC, I mean, it's a skills program now, it's no longer full qualification. The work readiness programs are amazing. I think every provider should get accredited for them. It absolutely does. The work induction, I don't know if you guys have looked at the skills program.
I'd like to see that work induction program
They
because
are such amazing. As a provider, I don't know why anybody was not accredited for those.
With a QCTO.
Yeah, the skills programs that are coming up.
I haven't seen the work induction program.
Yeah, I look at it every day. Oh, no, we
Yes, tell me the
haven't. Just goes program.
I've looked at it, I haven't seen the work induction.
It might be another name, but you must always read.
But that's the problem. It's the
I look
names
at the
that-
naming convention of these qualifications. You've actually got to go in and read it all, because sometimes what it's called and what it's.
That's another problem. The naming conventions are, they irritate me.
Yeah.
And don't be surprised if it says it's a construction qualification and there you'll find some baking in the curriculum.
Oh, yes, that's
There's a
another
lot of copying
problem.
and pasting mistakes.
There's a lot of copying and pasting. I just found plumbing in the management qualification at the bottom, because I read everything.
Yeah, we having to.
Yeah. So there's plumbing stuff in the management qualification.
They are under resource. I feel.
I agree,
sorry
I
for the
agree.
QCTO. They're
But
very
then they should link
under-resourced.
with, like you mentioned, with organizations.
Subject matter
like us
experts like us that can help
offer
them.
that specialist
They can,
information.
yes, and that's exactly what I'm going to say tomorrow, is that we are sitting with nearly 300 members, and all of your clients that are now going to become members that will help. And we have a wealth of experience and knowledge that we can assist and say. Accreditation specialists that there are yourselves that are out there that are picking these things up and can say, that needs to be sorted out, that needs to be sorted out. Can we help you? There's a pool of people that can help. The consultants are waiting for the work.
They don't really like consultants.
Yes, they don't like consultants, but the reality of the matter is the consultants have the experience.
Oh, we know how to ask the right questions. Some of the clients will ask the wrong questions because they don't have the necessary background knowledge that we have. But we know the right questions, John.
Yeah.
And if they don't like consultants, then use bodies like ASDSA that can.
Appoint.
Yes.
Yeah, and we can all help.
We will have a technical committee to review the information. No problem.
Absolutely, that's a great idea.
Are they under pressure from any of the other professional bodies?
They are, at this point in time, I can tell you, I won't name my sources because I'm very good at investigating stuff. I won't name my sources. I received an email from QCTO in error, and other professional bodies are trying to register skills programs and training, and they have been rejected since 2019. And you're not allowed to, as a professional body, you're not allowed to be a training provider. No, you're not allowed to be a training provider.
But that's not your mandate.
It's not our mandate. A training provider, you can't be an STP as a professional body because you have a professional designation. So you cannot have a qualification and a professional designation. It's in conflict to the SAPA regulations.
So you can only have the professional designations.
You
Okay.
can only have a professional designation. You cannot train for it. You can RPL for the designation, but you cannot train for the designation. Okay, very, very clearly defined by SAPA.
Didn't know that.
But it speaks to your mandate. What is your mandate?
The mandate is we're a professional body, and we professionally designate you for your knowledge and experience in the industry. If you already have that qualification, that is great. That's your underlying qualification, but we can RPL you for your knowledge and experience.
And then your continuous professional development.
Correct.
Comes from that.
Yes.
So that's the training component. It's not to say that I now go out as an organization and we train.
Correct. All we're doing is upskilling you by imparting knowledge, and then you serve on our boards voluntarily, because we do this as volunteer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Free of charge.
Sharon, can I adjourn? Can
Yes.
we greet?
Thank you very much for joining us, guys. I hope it was a valuable session.
Yeah, we did have some really good feedback. So thank you so much for attending, and we'll hopefully see you face to face soon.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Cheers.
I almost wanted to say to guys, bye.